Hello, Clockwork Alchemy folks. This is Catherine the Great, one of your vendors at the Clockwork Alchemy Vendor Hall. I miss you and I can't wait to see you again in 2021. My name is Catherine the Great and my business is called Blue Moon Designs. And I make fashionable utility accessories for women and men. I focus on making utility pocket belts and holster hoodies like what I'm wearing. I also make a lot of lighted accessories, so light up jewelry, necklaces, light up headdresses, light up bustle skirts, basically, lots of different products with lights in them. So my design aesthetic is very body positive. I want people to feel wonderful in the things that I make for them, no matter what size they are. I have a wide range of sizes that my things fit. I also use a lot of reclaimed materials, so I'll use upholstery remnants and scraps from other seamstresses. So I try to put a lot of heart into what I make and thought, and wanting to be clever and have things that are really functional for people as well as beautiful. So I originally went to design school for costume and textile design back doing undergraduate things, and I thought originally that I was going to be a theatrical costumer. I was going to work in the theater and make beautiful things for shows, and sort of somewhere along the process realized that that is a very demanding and not secure choice for a career. And I went and decided to do something else. I was in graduate school and I graduated with a degree in library science just in time for the Great Recession, and could not find a job to save my life doing library work. So I fell back on design work and I started making pocket belts, and I'd been doing Renaissance Fair all that time, and I was like, well, maybe I should dip my toe into being a vendor. And so I tried the very first steampunk convention in California, which was the California Steampunk Convention way back in, I think that was 2008 in the fall, back in San Jose. And that was my very first con ever, and it was great, and steampunk was great, and everyone loved my stuff. And so I spent most of the next few years making money doing what I had originally thought I would make money doing, and I built up my business since then. And in the meantime, also got library job, and so I have this interesting dual career thing going. I work part-time as a librarian at a college and part-time running my business. So it's a really nice balance of sort of intellectual side and creative side, health benefits and fun artistic business. My introduction to steampunk was I spied in a dusty distance this Victorian house driving across the desert at Burning Man, because I've been going to Burning Man since 2003. For those of you who don't know what the Never Was Hall is, it is the flagship of the Traveling Academy of Unnatural Sciences. And they come from the land of Hibernia, which is what would have happened if, instead of the British Empire ruling the world, the Irish Empire ruled the world. And I was blown away, completely blown away, because I had also been doing things like Dickens Fair and Renaissance Fair. And I was so just overcome. I'm like, no one ever told me to bring my Victorian clothing to Burning Man. And I was like, I don't have a thing to wear. What am I going to do? So I got to know the crew and just basically hung out in their camp for the rest of the week after I saw this, and was like, I want to be part of you. I love what you're doing. So that was my introduction. And that was back in 2006. And I'm not even really sure that steampunk was on a lot of people's lips at that time. But then when I heard the word, I was like, oh, that's what that's called. Now I understand. That's like the Never Was Hall at Burning Man. Now it's been picked up by conventions and wonderful musicians and all the people that we love at Clockwork Alchemy and other events like that. It's just been, it has been such a lovely ride, and it's so nice to be part of a community that embraces this fantasy life and has this vibrant aesthetic and rich kind of, it's a little bit for history geeks and it's a little bit for people who like to play dress up, and you kind of mush all that stuff together and you have this great community. The evolution of my product line, primarily with the clothing wearable things, I made a pocket belt for myself to wear at Burning Man, because I had all these great fun costumes and none of them, I kept forgetting to put pockets in them. and it is a it's high desert camping event. And so you need like tools in your pockets. And so I remember very vividly having a corset and a big floofy tutu on, and I'm like fixing my wind fence with a hammer, and I needed a pliers, and I'm like, I don't have pockets in this corset and this tutu. I'm very frustrated. So the following year I made a cool tapestry pocket belt because I had this beautiful like red and gold tapestry, and it was really wild and just felt right. Because I had looked at hardware store tool belts, so like leather tool belts, and it was very doodly and manly and big pockets. And I held that up. I'm like, but I'm a lady. This is not a lady's pocket belt. This is a dude's pocket belt. So I wanted to design a lady's pocket belt. So I put darts in the waist. I made it so it has corset lacing adjustment in the back. It's meant to fit a curvier figure, as I am a curvy woman. I am also a woman of size, so I made sure that it was something that would look good on a larger figure. So that all of those features have gone very much into the aesthetic of what I make. So I make things that are meant to fit real human bodies. My sizing scheme is very much skewed towards the generously proportioned figure. Hence the whole body positive aesthetic. I'm very keen on meeting people where they're at and having people feel like when they put something on their body that I've made for them, that I'm just giving them a great big hug and I'm saying, you're perfect just the way you are. Because we spend so much time, especially women, we spend so much time worrying about our size. And I feel like just so much mental anguish about, oh, I could lose 10 pounds, and oh, I really don't look good in my skin. And like, this is the only body we are ever given. This is the only chance we have to live on this earth. So we shouldn't spend our time feeling like we're inadequate in our own skins. I feel like that's just a waste of mental bandwidth that could be devoted to being happy and feeling fulfilled. So as far as my creative process goes, I love working with the different textures in fabric. So I have a whole wall of rolled up bits and bobs and scraps and things of different fabrics that I've collected over the years. And I really like finding fabrics that are very complementary colors that are also different textures. So I work with a lot of, chenilles and velvets and ultra suede and a lot of really yummy, very luxurious feeling upholstery fabrics. And I really want people to just feel like they can pet themselves and be so happy that they put this thing on. I like things that are very sumptuous, and that I think comes from many, many years at the Renaissance Fair, feeling like, all the nobles walking around in their beautiful velveteens and, all these damask, amazing textures and colors and weaves and all that kind of sumptuousness. So I think that it's an important thing to bring into your everyday life, to have things that you just feel so much joy touching and having, and that tactile piece of it. So the other products that I make are products with lights in them. So I, again, leaning towards the Burning Man aesthetic and being inspired by all these things that I do in my life, I really enjoy working with light as a medium in fabric, and working with light as a wearable accent to the look that you've already got put together. And so I first started working with lights as working them into my Bustle skirts. So I have one here on my mannequin that you can see. These are built on a little like Christmas light string that I work into a tube of fabric. So it's just stitched into a tube, and it's a traditional little LED Christmas light with a battery pack that sits, right in the center back. I have recently expanded into working with programmable microcontrollers. So using something from, if you're familiar with the Arduino microcontroller platform, I've started making pendants, and I am taking my pendant apart. So it's actually made of two components. There's the stone, and then this is it's called a Adafruit Circuit Playground Express board. So that's the brain. And there's what I love about this is it's something that when I sell it to someone, they can program it to do whatever they want. There's sensors built on this board, so it can sense the ambient noise, it can sense the temperature, it can sense how how the board itself is oriented, whether you shake it. There's like a gyroscope on there. Let's see, it also has an IR sensor and has a little speaker, so you can program it to play music. So there's a lot of really interesting possibilities that you can make this board into, and then put it back into your necklace and wear it around the dance floor. And then it'll pulse to the beat of your heart. It'll pulse to the music beat. You can have it do something to the sound of your voice. And, and then it's put in with this beautiful, luxurious stone. I really appreciate natural stones and using natural materials whenever I can. So I'm really thrilled about this new product. And I just love having something that, I think of it as it's like I do some of the work and then I hand it off, and then it gets to be yours to do some creative thing with. So how I made the jump from working with fabric primarily to bringing in these technological aspects. So back when I was in graduate school, before the recession, I was apprenticed to a woman that I met through Burning Man Circles in San Diego when I was going to school there. And she was installing LED lights into clothing. And I have to admit, when I first saw what she was doing, I got really jealous because I was like, I had that idea, but she's got a whole business and she looks really successful, and like, I was kind of grumpy. And then I met her and she was so nice. And she was particularly nice because she said, oh, you know how to sew and you're interested in my work. Come and work for me and learn how to do what I do and help me out because I have more work than I know what to do with. So instead of me, feeling like jealous and like there's this competition going on, she opened up her studio. She taught me her whole process. I got to see everything that she was doing. I became her apprentice. And she shared so much about, running a business, dealing with clients. And, she does this like couture level prices and amazing, beautiful stuff, custom LED, like stage clothing. She did performance costumes for Cirque du Soleil and R. Kelly and like big name celebrity people. And it was really beautiful that she was so generous with sharing her process and her knowledge and all of that. So that was my first introduction. She, prior to starting her own business, she was an electronics engineer. So she had a lot of knowledge in the electronics realm. And this was back in like 2006 when LEDs were just starting to become super affordable, and the Arduino movement and the maker movement was just getting some momentum. And so as that gained traction and as I found out more and more about this, this whole world of makers and Arduino and fantastic, do-it-yourself capabilities, I started learning a little bit about this and learning how to do programming sort of, and having talented friends who could help me figure out how to do stuff that I couldn't quite figure out how to do on my own, which is really what the maker movement is about. So I started learning and got to experience all these great tutorials. The company Adafruit that makes the microcontroller brain of my pendant also has a bunch of tutorials, and really thorough, well explained, even for non-specialists and people like me who don't have an electronics background. I knew nothing beforehand, and now I know how to program. I kind of understand how logic works. I know a little bit of the coding language, and there's all these coding tools out there where you don't have to learn the language. You can just do these like drag and drop editors where it's like puzzle pieces and you just fit it in and make it go. And it's a really neat and new opportunity for non-specialists to get a sense of learning and how to do fun things and making their vision into reality. One of the things that I really enjoy about doing events like Clockwork Alchemy, and particularly with Clockwork Alchemy, is the fact that we're all sort of in this little microcosm for the weekend. And so someone will come into my booth on a Friday, Friday afternoon, right as the convention's opening and getting going, and they'll say, oh, I need a blah, blah, blah for tomorrow night. I have this whole outfit planned and I just need this, icing on the cake. And so I can provide an icing on the cake with like a light up bustle, or they needed a pocket belt, or, oh dear, I couldn't find my pocket belt, I need a new one. So I get to, get that really early excitement. And then when I go to one of the music concerts, because that's one of my favorite parts about Clockwork Alchemy, then I can see what the icing on the cake looks like. So, oh, you're right. That green looks really great with that Cthulhu inspired bustle skirt thing. Like it totally, you're right. It does add that icing on the cake. So, because I'll make sales online and I'll do stuff that, I'll sell things at events and I don't necessarily get to close the loop as the designer that's sort of adding that finishing touch. So it's really fun to actually get to have that experience and not just imagine in my mind, but then I get to actually see it and say, oh yeah, that looks great. You're right. That was the right choice. So that part I really enjoy. So you can find me on Etsy as Blue Moon Catherine is my shop name. You can also find me by searching Blue Moon Designs. That's Catherine with a K, E-R-I-N-E. And I also have a website that's blue-moon-designs.com. That is my online gallery of possibilities, and you can, see what kinds of things I can cook up for a custom order. But to shop things that are instant gratification ready right now, you'll find those in my Etsy store. You can also follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/BlueMoonCatherine. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all at Clockwork Alchemy 2021. I was so bummed to miss you in 2020, but hopefully this year I'll pass quickly and I'll get to see all your wonderful, smiling, steampunky faces next year.